All right, everybody, welcome back. We are ready to deep dive today.
Into Japan's income walls.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, before we started recording, and
It's a good one.
it's fascinating because it is not something that we think about a lot,
Right.
I mean, at least I don't, you kind of think, okay, well, if I get a raise, or if I'm making more money, that's a good thing, right?
More money, more problems.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily the case in Japan because they have these things called income walls. And essentially, it's like you're leveling up in a video game and you're making progress, you're really excited, and then bam, you hit this invisible wall.
Yeah.
And it can actually negatively impact your take-home pay and your benefits.
Totally.
Yeah, so we're going to be looking at this article from NHK. It's from November 8th, 2024.
Okay.
And we're going to be mapping out 3 of these walls. The 103 million yen wall, the 106 million yen wall, and the 130 million yen wall.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So let's start with the 103 million yen wall. This one is all about income tax, which, again, you would think, well, income tax, okay, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But this article points out a really interesting kind of sneaky little twist for students who are working part-time.
Absolutely.
So could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So, when someone is making over that 103 million yen mark, right? They're on the radar for income tax, right? But then how that can impact a family or the parents of the student is if the student is working and they're considered a dependent, right, and they hit that 103 million yen mark, that could affect the parents' taxes and their deductions because of how much the student is making.
Yeah. So even as a student working part-time, you could actually kind of mess up your parents' tax situation.
You could. It's something to be aware of.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, something to keep in mind. But, on the other hand, good news for spouses who are working part-time.
Yes.
Maybe they're stay-at-home parents and they're doing a little something on the side.
Right.
Do you remember that spousal deduction rule change back in 2018?
Oh, yeah.
They bumped up that wall to 150 million yen.
They did.
So that gives those spouses a little more breathing room, before they hit that income tax wall.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, a little bit of good news there, but, taxes aren't the only thing we have to consider. As your income grows, you're going to encounter some of these other walls like the 106 and the 130.
Right.
And those are all about social insurance.
Yeah, social insurance is an interesting one. It's, it's almost like the safety net that you contribute to and you can benefit from.
Right.
But as your income rises, you might find yourself phasing out of some of those benefits, even if your overall income is technically higher, right?
Yeah, it's really counterintuitive.
Yeah.
You think, okay, well, I'm making more money, so I should have more benefits. But it doesn't quite work that way.
Not always.
Yeah. So let's get into this 106 million yen wall. The article says that this mainly affects people who are working for larger companies.
Uh-huh.
So those with 51 or more employees.
Okay.
And this is actually a recent change. It used to be 101.
Oh, wow.
So I guess they lowered that threshold.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, you hit this wall if your annual income is over 106 million yen, or if you're making about 88,000 yen per month and you're working more than 20 hours a week.
Okay.
So if any of those conditions are true, then you're going to hit this wall. And when you do, you lose dependent spouse status.
Oh.
And you have to start paying for national pension and health insurance yourself.
Well, I see.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The article says that your take-home pay tends to recover around the 125 million yen mark.
Oh, interesting.
So do you have an idea why that is?
I mean, I'm not a financial advisor or anything, but my understanding is it has to do with the way that they calculate the income brackets and the deductions and, you add on social insurance contributions and all of that.
Yeah.
And so, basically when you hit that 106 million yen wall, it bumps you into a different calculation. But as your income rises, you eventually reach a point where that higher income outweighs all of the added costs.
So there's like a sweet spot.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
After the 106 million yen wall where your take-home starts to look better again.
Right.
Who knew?
Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it really is like a financial obstacle course.
Yeah.
You got to
be strategic.
Yeah, you got to be strategic. You got to know what's going on. And this article also gives a really good tip. It says if your base wages are under 88,000 yen per month.
Okay.
So this is not counting overtime or holiday pay.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Then you don't have to worry about adjusting your hours to avoid hitting that wall.
Okay.
So that's actually pretty good advice.
Good to know.
For anyone who, maybe they're prioritizing their work-life balance.
Yeah.
And they don't want to trigger that major financial shift.
Absolutely.
So now let's move on to the 130 million yen wall.
Okay.
This one is for people who are working at smaller companies, so 50 employees or less.
Gotcha.
And here's the thing about this one. It's not just your salary that counts. They're looking at all of your sources of income.
Really?
So overtime bonuses, rental income. So it's a little bit different from the 106 million yen wall.
Yeah, a lot broader.
Yeah, you have to be really mindful of your total income picture, not just your salary from one job.
Interesting.
And just like with the 106 million yen wall, going over this limit means that you're going to lose dependent status and you're going to have to start paying for national pension and national health insurance.
So much to keep in mind.
Yeah, so much to keep in mind, you know, when you're working in Japan and you're making these financial decisions.
I did read somewhere that in October of 2023, they put in some countermeasures
Yeah, I saw that in the article too.
to address some of these
Yeah.
social insurance walls.
I think that's a deep dive that we'll have to save for another time.
Agreed.
But it's definitely something that, you know, we need to talk about at some point because,
It's important.
yeah, it's important. But, you know, even with those countermeasures, these walls, I think, really shape how people are making decisions about their careers,
Uh-huh.
about their families, about, you know, just their life in Japan. You know, like, for example, if I know that hitting a certain income level might mean that I'm going to lose benefits or I'm going to have to pay more, I might choose to work fewer hours.
Right.
I might even explore, you know, completely different career paths.
It really highlights the importance of staying informed, right?
Totally.
Because Japan's financial landscape is always changing.
Yeah.
So understanding these walls can really empower you to make choices that align with your own goals.
Couldn't have said it better myself. You know, it's really interesting just thinking about these different income walls. And, you know, we've only talked about 3-1. There are probably others lurking out there.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
But for now, this has been a really fascinating deep dive.
Ooh.
I feel like I have leveled up my understanding of the financial system in Japan.
Glad to hear it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope that you feel a little bit more confident and a little bit more equipped to navigate Japan's income wall maze.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure. See you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.